Our first r/NoSleep story is posted by Reddit user G_A93. My son isn't sleeping well. I now know why. My son was a happy 5-year-old. He came into this world healthy, and from the time he could smile, he never stopped. Around his 5th birthday, I noticed he wasn't sleeping well anymore. As a matter of fact, it took him nearly 2 hours to fall asleep every night. By the time he'd knock out, I'd be exhausted too. It even fucked with my work. I damn near fell off a roof a little while back. I didn't secure my safety harness and slipped off the roof. Luckily, I caught myself before plunging several floors. I only suffered a gash over my right eyebrow, but otherwise fine. I'm an electrician by trade, trained by my father. Most days, it was drop off at daycare and then straight to work at the next average Joe mom and pop joint. It wasn't until just before his 5th birthday party when I noticed how serious his sleep deprivation was. He woke with terror in his eyes as I jolted him up for his big day. His big brown eyes seemed sunken inwards, exhaustion gripping him, as if the 9 hours of sleep wasn't enough. I sat down to ask if he was well, but he didn't mention anything. Not one word of being tired, not one word of being scared, just nothing. I couldn't let it go. I decided to investigate. The day after his big day, I decided to record him during his sleep. I'm no doctor, but I wanted to see if maybe he was waking up, maybe having night terrors. I typically put him out around 7:30, so by 7:35, I had the camera turned on, and I head to the TV to relax, but couldn't make it past the intro to Goodfellas. I had passed out cold, like I've been used to for the past month or so. It was such an eerie feeling, full of confusion and restlessness. The next morning I woke up in a daze. I got up and walked over to my son's room. To my horror, I opened up my son's room to nothing. Everything gone. Everything. And not just my son, but the entire room, except that camera. In a panic, I went to go call out for my son, but as I turned back, the hallway was just as bare as my son's room. I felt a light, dizzy feeling, my stomach churning as I tried to make my way to the living room. As I entered the room, I noticed yet again the furniture and decorations that filled my room once were now gone. "What the fuck is going on here?" I said out loud. I felt as if I was in a haze, as if somebody was playing a sick joke on me. My head kept spinning as I tried to process what was going on around me. Colors were beginning to blend. My eyes were rolling back and forth into my head and out. I didn't know where I was. I felt like I was forgetting everything I knew. My boy. I can't forget my son. My son. I trailed off for a bit. It was then, right there, in that bare living room, where all my stuff had been just the day before, I realized I couldn't remember his name. Why couldn't I remember his name? It's almost like I knew he mattered to me. I could remember everything. His birthday, his days at school, our favorite games to play, our favorite dinner to eat at night, our favorite ice cream spot. But why couldn't I remember his name? I couldn't remember it. It's almost as if he was a made-up character in my life. Shaken and feeling sicker by each moment, I attempted to run back to the boy's room. I got about halfway through and fell on the floor. It felt as if the life from my body was being drained. I couldn't explain the feeling. It's like I was dying even though I had never experienced death. But even this feeling, this disgusting, hollow feeling I was feeling, would never be something I wish, even on my worst enemies. I got to the room. It was still empty, but I searched for answers. I immediately grabbed the camera to try and review the footage. To my surprise, that was still there. I could see him. There's the boy. My boy. The sight of him made me so excited. Like my life was vindicated. Like I wasn't going insane. That sight didn't last long before the camera cut to fuzz. It didn't make sense because I charged it before using it last night. It should have at least had another 3 hours of life. And almost as if the camera heard my thoughts, the screen was illuminated by a bright light, unmoving. The audio was silent at first, but soon I heard muffled voices. I couldn't make out the words. As I peered at the screen, my heart rate spiked up, almost as if I was running a marathon. My stomach was aching, like I needed to puke, but I was given no such relief. I collapsed onto the bare floor where my son's bed once was, tears rolling down my eyes. I couldn't move, but my eyes were fixated on that white light on the screen. The voices stayed muffled for what felt like hours. All I could do was contemplate on what the fuck was going on. Was this a punishment from God? Was it from Satan? Was my son okay? Why can't I remember him? Did I even have a son? As a matter of fact, who the hell is his mother? Where is his mother? These questions and more burrowed their way in and around my head until out of nowhere, I heard the single clearest audio since collapsing. Push. The sound came in as a shock, and a moment later I heard again, push. If I could have smiled, I would have. I didn't know what the sound was, but it was amazing to hear someone, anyone, through all my pain, through all my confusion. I hadn't heard a single voice. Thinking about it, even as I yelled in agony and in confusion, I didn't even hear my voice. My excitement quickly turned to panic as I realized that with every push coming from the audio, the light from the camera became brighter and brighter. So bright, in fact, the light began taking over the room. Push. 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 I felt my body begin to lift, as if I didn't weigh anything. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then, nothing. As if I was in a void in space, floating through the cosmos without a single care in the world. No worries of a son that may or may not have existed. No worries of a family, a wife, my job, the world. No worries of life. And then, I woke up, in a bed, after what felt like I'd been asleep for a few years. My groggy state came as no surprise. I felt like I had the worst hangover in the world, or maybe like I hit my head on something and nobody came to my aid. I lifted my head, shocked to see myself back in my son's room, everything put back in place. It was a dream, I had thought, or maybe a nightmare. Just as I begun to pick my body up, I noticed I'm wearing something awfully colorful, some sort of night outfit. I didn't have time to react though, for just as I was about to speak, a man walked into the room, holding a cake with a number 5 popping out of it. I couldn't speak a word, but I recognized the man. "Dad?" I said. "Happy birthday, little man. Are you ready to have some fun today?" I stood there, dumbfounded. What the fuck was going on? I didn't have the words to speak, and I was in shock. The man who'd raised me, who I recognized as my father, my mentor, picked me up as if I was a child. I guess I was a child. He hugged me tight and whispered quietly, "Your mother would have loved to be here to see your party." He kissed my forehead and set me down. "Get dressed, bud. We got a lot of things to get ready." Before my father shut the door, I noticed something that shook me to my core. A scar running across his forehead, over his right eyebrow. It's been 7 years since that day. I still don't know what to make of it. My father had a hard time with me in the beginning. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, mostly scared of the world around me. Had my whole adult life been a dream? Did I die and get reincarnated? I'm not sure. All I know is I'm here now and for the foreseeable future. If you're reading this, please get a grip on your reality. Enjoy every moment of your life, because one day you could wake up and it'll all be gone. I've got to go. I'm going to be late for social studies.